Good hellos and welcome to episode 39, which is my age, of my podcast, The View from the Crow's Nest. Thank you very much for choosing to spend some time with me. If you're about on Twitter, then come over and say hello at Romeo Crow. And if you've got any comments, questions, feedback, anything at all, I'd love to hear from you, so please do let me know. Today's episode, definitely not the same techno rant that I had yesterday. Well, the rant, techno geekery that I had yesterday with my new toys. If you missed that episode, I just bought a Google Nest Hub, which is basically a very nice digital photo frame. It does other stuff as well, but most importantly, it streams directly from your Google Photos albums that you select, which is just brilliant. I also bought the Alexa Fire Stick 4K so that we can actually watch Netflix and whatnot on TVs that are old and don't have any of that stuff, which is good because then we can finally basically watch a film on a TV after, well, since August we haven't done that, so that's great. And a bunch of really dull for if you don't use them, but awesome if you do use them, hacks for speeding up your workflow when working in Google apps, in fact any apps, and searching things through a browser. Very exciting stuff. If you're interested in that, save you time, then listen to yesterday's episode. Today, I didn't work on Grip the Sky again, so that's still so close to finishing, but not quite finished, because I was focused on just getting some other bits done that just needed to be done, bits that I've kind of not dealt with, organising myself a bit more, trying to actually think what I actually did. I did do stuff, I worked for many hours, but I can't actually remember what I did. Particularly, what I did do towards the end of the day was have a conversation which turned into an hour and 40 minutes with this potential client for Audience Ninja, a music record label in the States who have two artists that they want to promote, and it looks like hopefully I shall be, along with my nascent agency Audience Ninja, shall be doing that work for them, so that's very exciting. Got another call with them on Saturday, I think, to discuss. Today we discussed the web build and all of that side of things. On Saturday we'll discuss advertising and that side of things, which are two very separate things, although obviously very linked. So fingers crossed that comes through. It reminds me that I really need to pull my finger out and start bringing on board the team for Audience Ninja, because Audience Ninja is a marketing agency whose clients at first will be Simona, my wife, and I's other projects. So from UK Open Mic, which obviously isn't running because of the COVID at the moment, but nonetheless it was the biggest open mic company in the UK. Not that hard to do, but it sounds nice, prior to coronavirus, and hopefully we'll be straight back there as soon as we're legally allowed to put on open mics in pubs again. But also World Schooling Hub, which is a whole suite of tools and things for the global world schooling and homeschooling community. It's a market where there isn't really any plain clear leader, because there isn't really anybody who's really making it a business. There are a couple of people I noticed in the last 6 months who are starting to try and launch businesses in the space, so hopefully we can either collaborate or it won't be too competitive, but we're very confident that we've got some really good ideas, some cool products that we've already built, a couple of them, and we want to get somebody on board who can help with that side of things, and also my own creative projects in terms of music and writing and whatnot. So we want to bring on board a team, have them in Audience Ninja working on these projects, and then with Audience Ninja start working with external clients. Wasn't expecting to work with external clients for a while, but looks like we'll be doing that sooner, hopefully, rather than later. So that's very exciting. So looking forward to that. On a very different note, though, Simona and I are both feeling like we're in a bit of a Groundhog Day at the moment. We're on the island of Ischia, where my wife's from, staying with my mother-in-law. We were stuck here when the quarantine happened. We were just visiting and we were forced to stay for a few months. Now the quarantine's over, we're still not sure of our next plans, because coronavirus may or may not come back, but also we can't really visit my parents because we don't want to bring anything into the house, and we don't really want to leave and then come back here because Then we're putting Simona's mum and my sister-in-law at risk, who are both potentially very susceptible in the category to being at risk from coronavirus. So it's kind of given us a bit of a limbo situation, and as a consequence, we've not really been doing anything. Every day is just kind of the same kind of routine, working. And from a homeschooling point of view, we're not taking the kids out and doing stuff which we normally would do, particularly Simona. So we're being, I think, thinking today of being very reactive to things. We're allowing our main income comes from UK Open Mic. That finished on March the 23rd, and no one saw that coming. If your business relies on pubs being open, you never think the pubs are going to shut in the UK. And then overnight they did. So, income has been stopped effectively, and you don't know what's happening with the coronavirus. You don't know whether you can or can't travel. Obviously, not having a steady income makes you think about whether you can afford to pay rent when you're going into another place. By total fortune, we happen to be locked down at my mother-in-law's because we don't have to pay rent here, which has just been obviously very fortunate. Had it been 2 days later, we would have been in France at that point, stuck at Disneyland, Paris, and then we would have had a villa booked in Spain, which we were going to stay at for 3 months. So that could have been really dire if we had been stuck in a villa we were paying for to see a place we'd never been before, and we weren't allowed out of the house for a few months. That would have been challenging. So we've been very fortunate, but nonetheless, we're on, I think being too reactive, and I think we need to flip it around and be proactive. And one of the things that I always said, one of my stock phrases is, do what you can with what you have right now. And the truth is, we were remembering today, it's easy to be whingy peoples. I mean, we're not whingy peoples, but it's easy to look at the difficult side of things and forget your blessings and forget what's so wonderful about the situation. And what's so wonderful is we're on the island of Ischia, which is basically on the Amalfi Coast, which is one of the most desirable, vacation destinations in the world. And it's like, hang on a minute, although we've seen quite a lot of it, we haven't explored it before with a car, because we only got our first car in October last year. I only got my license in August last year. So actually, there's a lot we can do once we leave the island. There's stuff to do on the island, but mostly it's going to the beach, which is awesome, but is a bit repetitive and a bit challenging, especially if, like me, you don't actually really like the beach, certainly not for more than about an hour. Although the kids love it, Simona loves it, so I've made a resolution to go to the beach more with them. But nonetheless, I think our general thinking is that we need to become more proactive. We need to get better organised, which is one of our general kind of weaknesses, is organising ourselves and actually, doing things on the dates that we're thinking we're going to do them. One of the wonderful things about our lifestyle is we've got a lot of freedom and flexibility generally. We world school, we homeschool, we both work, from home with the kids or on our projects. Generally, apart from perhaps Audience Ninja, if we have clients, we don't answer to anybody, we don't have clients, so to speak, not really. And it's all very easy for us to postpone something to the day after or the next week or what have you. The problem is when you have that much freedom is you don't have the boundaries, and therefore it becomes too easy to just postpone stuff or just, a bit tired, we'll do it another day, or blah, blah, blah. So I think we still struggle to find the right balance for that, where, we sort of commit to stuff, and some stuff it's great to have the flexibility to go, no, do that later. And with other stuff, actually, it's better if you do follow through when you think you're going to follow through. So I think we're going to try and make a couple of changes and be a bit more travelling within the restricted area that we can travel in, and with the restricted means that we have. So hopefully that'll take us a little bit out of Groundhog Day. And part of that for me is, and I said this on a podcast a couple of weeks ago when I was feeling a bit down, just after that I reminded myself, and I remembered that if you are feeling, you are feeling a bit down, you are feeling a bit overwhelmed or a bit bored or a bit in a rut or whatnot, then often the way out of that is simply to be taking action. I mean, I say simply, but is to organise yourself, actually, to be disciplined, is to get on top of stuff and feel like you're in control. And I think that idea of feeling like you're in control again, of being proactive, of being, the captain of the ship or whatever, and really steering your course, is really, really powerful and really, really important. And if you don't do that, effectively you're drifting a little bit and you're buffeted by, the wind and the waves and whatnot, rather than actually knowing where you're going and making movement towards it. So that's going to be the kind of buzzword in my mind and in our house maybe for the next few days, week, we'll see. See if we can get ourselves back on track, see if we can get ourselves a bit more variety in our days again. Again, I love working, so it's easy for me to just kind of stay at home and work all day, every day, and actually that's not really so good, and for any of us. And I've fallen out of my habit that I'd built, which was going really well for about a month, of done by one then fun, of getting stuff done by lunchtime and then effectively giving myself permission to do whatever in the afternoon, play with the kids, read, do more work, go for a walk, all of these things. Instead, I'm going back into that habit of, I'll just work through till 4 or 5 p.m. and then it's like, I really should do some things I need to do around the house, help with the kids, etc. So it's a bit of a reset, I think, a bit of a back to the basics again. Maybe this is one of those cycles. I think I was talking about this on a previous podcast, that my wife had noticed I go through cycles. Some cycles are music cycles, some cycles are business cycles, etc. And towards the end of the cycle, I get a little bit annoyed by things, or a bit, with what I'm doing, a bit bored with it, or a bit frustrated, particularly frustrated with what I'm doing. And that's usually, she says, an indication that I'm coming to the end of the cycle and about to embark on another one with fresh energy and fresh ideas. And part of the reason for this whole podcast is so that I can keep track of these kind of things and see whether there are patterns, see whether there are cycles. So let's see if this is part of a cycle over the weeks and months and years, whether I start noticing a pattern, if I've got the patience and interest to deep dive into the data and start analysing it. We'll see. But yeah, that's kind of where we are. That's where I am today. Feeling like a change is needed, feeling like I've got to move into the next phase, the next project, the next thing, must close down Grip the Sky and get it out there, the Grip the Sky experience for people. And I think a bit of a refreshing time coming up, I think, is needed. And on that note, I will let you freshen up in whatever you are doing, or reconnect with whatever it is that you're doing. If you're about on Twitter, as I said, do come say what's up. Other than that, I will be here tomorrow, and I hope to speak to you then. Take it easy. Bye.